Okay, good morning, gentlemen. My name is Ralph Salonia. I am a technician with Johnson Controls, and today we're going to go over your BMS system at South Beach Psychiatric Center, namely the NRB Building. So, on the screen today, right now we have course objectives and agenda. So I'm just going to read right now. Upon completion of this course, you should be able to identify the various hardware components that make up the MSEA network, navigate through the MSEA system via the user interface, run an assortment of summaries to find conditions of various pieces of equipment, command various pieces of mechanical equipment on, off, adjust set points, and take points out of service. View, modify, and create schedules. View, modify, and set up alarms for points in the MSEA system. Handle alarms as they occur in the systems. View, modify, and set up trends for the points in the MSEA system. View, modify, and set up totalizations for points in the MSEA system. Navigate through the MSEA system via a graphics environment. And that is it. Also, I probably will add, we will probably take a walk around and, well, if you want, Metasys Systems Extended Architecture.
What is it, MSEA?
That's what you just
That's
said.
it. Metasys Systems Extended Architecture. Basically, it's your BMS system, which you guys are all familiar with, right? Everybody here who's here today, they currently work on the Johnson system, so you kind of know how to navigate through it. I mean, I'm going to take you through basic stuff that you probably already know how to do, but we'll go through it. If at any point you have any questions, don't be shy to stop me and ask a question, okay? So we'll go over the general logins and how to get alarms, how to reset alarms, how to put some trends in, and then we'll probably take a walk to some of the equipment, so I'll show you the individual where the safeties are and how, because some of the equipment you're going to have to reset locally before you reset on a BMS. Okay, so here is our NRB homepage. Oops, I am offline right now. Let's put that in. Okay, we're back online. So, just basic, let's see. So, typically when you guys come up to the screen, this is what you see. How I like to set it up is that everybody has their own individual login, but some sites like to just use a group login. So, when you log in, you'll get this little, if you have any active alarms, this will pop up.
Yeah, we have
9,000.
9,000 alarms.
So, I mean, who's looking at the alarms and clearing them? So if you can get to your main alarm page, or you can get through the pop-up, right? You could look at the alarm. This shows you what point is in alarm, right? Or we could go to, if you highlight the ADX, and you go to View, Event Viewer. Okay, this will give you your active alarms. Anything in pink is active right now, so these are all active. You can acknowledge them from this page. You can acknowledge them one at a time from this page just by clicking Acknowledge. You can highlight them all. You can go Control A, highlight them all, and you can acknowledge them at a page at a time if you wanted to. So if you want to clear out a group of alarms, that's a good way to do it. These alarms are, if you just acknowledge and you don't discard, your alarms will be able to be seen in the future. When I say able to be seen in the future is there'll be a history of them. If you discard them, they're gone forever and you'll never see what the alarm is again. Okay. Eventually when service comes in, whoever that is, should be able to purge out the alarms, and you want to clear out the database at least semi-annually. Quarterly is probably better, but that's where we're at. So right now, I'm just gonna take that pop-up out of the picture, and we'll go back to this main page. So here's our page. So our main, let's see what the first on our agenda was. Various hardware components that make up the MS. So here's one of our drawings, right? And this is, so basic hardware components. Right in the center there, where my cursor is your computer. So that's your workstation. Okay, I don't know if you guys have an alarm printer set up or not, do you?
No,
No.
we don't have printer.
You don't have a printer. Okay, so typically just have a regular dot matrix printer that prints out every alarm. Some sites have that, some sites don't. Your workstation, you generally don't want to be using the ADX, that's our main server, as a user interface, which would be a computer that you access the network on. You want to typically keep that separate because it's a critical piece of equipment, which you guys do. Right, currently I see the service upstairs in, by the chiller plant room, and you have a separate UI workstation that you guys access from. That's perfect, because we want to stay away from the server, not have guys possibly plug USB ports into there or anything like that. So our main pieces of equipment so far, we have the server, which is the ADX, which does all the sites, which does all the equipment on the site. Then we have right here next to it is what's considered, what's an NAE, that's a network application engine. So that's, I like to call it one of our brains, right? From that picks up the local field controllers, whether they're, when I refer to third party, they're vendor devices that are BACnet brought onto the network, or there are Johnson family FECs and VMAs. VMAs do the VAV boxes, FECs are typically for air handlers. Okay, if I go over to the other side, there's an NCE, right? An NCE is the same thing as an NAE, other than it has a built-in field controller in it. So the built-in field controller is what you have hardware, you know, wires going out and activating points. So you're on, off, and everything, you'll have the wires from the controller telling to come off, your speed of the drives, and so on and so forth. Where an NAE is just bringing in field devices to it, NCE has one field controller, but also can pick up to 25 other devices coming into it. Depending on the size of your NAE, it limits the amount of devices you can bring into it. So like, I've seen you guys have a lot of NAE 55s here, so you could bring basically 200 if they're just Johnson family devices into that. There's two separate MSTP trunks. MSTP stands for Master Slave Token Passing. That is your regular BACnet trunk. So we could bring in 100 per trunk, and there's two trunks. Once you start putting third-party devices, that number goes down to 72 per trunk. If you're going that many, the basic trunk is 50, right? You can go, if you put a repeater on the trunk, then you can go up to 100. And so that 50 with a third-party device goes down to 36, and then if you put a repeater, you can go to 72 if you have third-party devices on both sides of the trunk. So next we have, so as I explained, right, we basically have, if you see here, would be an NAE, and here would be what I call the field controllers coming down the trunk. You know, and here's what would be a third-party device, would be a gateway. This right here is the integration to the ATS switches is what it's showing. So this is our basic hardware, how we work, right? We have a server, which brings in the NAEs and NCEs, which they bring in, that's over an Ethernet Cat 5, Cat 6 network. You guys do have fiber switches here where you switch back and forth. So the server brings in the NAEs, and then the NAEs have the local devices coming to it through BACnet. And that's basically the hardware of our system. I know I did that very quick. Are there any questions on anything? Okay. So, let's go back now. We're on our main NRB page, and we'll start with, well, let's, okay. So, they will medicine, okay, so using the system help file.
This site is not secure. Mhm.
Okay. Okay. So let me show you guys how to get through that again. So up here on the upper left where it says help, you would hit help and then you would go to Medisys help. Because we're not going to really look on how to do graphics. Right, so if you get this, which your computer is probably set up the same way, you got to get through this, go to more information, go to web page, and that'll bring you to the Medisys help. So here we have basic, this is just basically the Johnson booklet on how to get through, how to use the extended architecture, basically just go through the computer and how to, any problems that you would have in this. I think you can definitely skip pages, you can print it out. I don't know if this has a search. Let's see. No, that good. So this is basically just a PDF help file for you to use, a reference for you guys to use on how to get through anything that you have a problem with. I mean, it's a big document and it has a lot of information on it. So I would suggest in your spare time, go through it and see what you have. If you guys want to go through it a little bit before the next training day, and if you have any questions on anything on me, we could do that, but I'm not going to go through every page in this line item because it's just
On here, I have a question, just last one. Comfort warning, what is it? What it means? Whenever.
So this is just the level of a priority of alarms, and this is a general reference on what, so this is how we group our alarms, right? So the lower the alarm, the worse of an alarm it is. So like a priority 5 is like a fire alarm. Priority 8 is a life safety alarm. So the lower the alarm value, the worse of an alarm is. And we generally put certain types of alarms in priority, like so.
That was, I believe, 201. It means it's low, absolutely no priority. Right?
Yeah, I mean it's
nobody, nobody care about.
Somebody's hot in the space.
Yes.
Would be a
Yeah,
low
okay.
priority, right? Or I guess a zone temperature, a high alarm might be a low level alarm.
I see.
Whereas I think we have, I could show you the alarm priorities. So if we view, again, the event viewer, we'll see the priority level as 70 in general for a zone temperature alarm. So I don't know where he put, let's see what they had as 70. Yeah, they just basically given you roundabout groups of where the alarm should fit. Where we use the alarm priority in other sites, not here, is if we have a low-level alarm, like typically 40, it might email or phone out to somebody saying, hey, we have an emergency here. Whereas the higher level alarms wouldn't do that. So, you know, if you have a chiller plant, a chiller going down would be a high level alarm. If you had a data center where you had critical computer space, that would be an alarm that we would have a low level alarm, and that would dial out and say, hey, somebody's got to look at this immediately. Because as we all know, sometimes we fly past the pop-ups because we tend to get a lot of them. So we can set that up, but right now the computer's not hooked up to the internet. The server's not on the internet, so we would need an internet connection to be able to do that.
So when you're in the BMS system and you have these priority lists, are you able to sort them out by the priorities? So say the lower ones would just be the first pages, and then like you had 100 pages of these.
Yeah, I mean, I
alarms, right?
could, so when I click on the, I could do it by the list by priority.
Mhm.
So we have an 106, and that's usually, I think, an online or offline alarm. So we could set it up by the priority levels. So yes, you on this alarm page, you could change by the type of alarm. You could do the list by the priority, by the date, by the item, by the value. Okay, we could also start to filter the alarm. So if I wanted to add a filter, so I could hit this plus button and say I wanted to filter it by between a certain date. So I could filter it by the date, and let's say we wanted to see the alarms on August 1st. So I could say, I could start from August 1st and at midnight and bring the alarms in by that date.
Not in August first.
Well, I brought it in from that date on. I could add it from, see, I did it from that date on and after. So, before, so we'll just bring it to August 2nd. So now I have the date listed between August 1st and August 2nd. So, or we could bring it, we can clear those out. Maybe we want to bring it in by, let's see. The alarm type. We bring it in by the alarm type. So that alarm type, if we want to bring in whatever, we'll say high alarms came in. So we could filter it by that. So it's going to come up when you bring it in. So if you go again, if you can also be a little bit more specific. So what I'll show you is, well, let's take a look. So say AHU1, I'm looking and I wanted to see the history of AHU1. So if I highlight any one of the points, any one of the values, it gives me where it comes from. So I see ADX NAE5. So now I could limit, I could highlight NAE5 and I could view the event viewer just for that. So rather than getting all the alarms for the whole site, I can get the alarms that are just in NAE 5, which is what AHU 1 is being fed from. So if I wanted to see the specifics on AHU 1, I could do that. So here are the latest alarms from AHU 5. So AHU 1 and all the VAVs that are fed from that are all on here. And you can see the dark gray means that they've been acknowledged already, and the yellow means that they're still active. So we could do that for any of the NAEs on the site, and it gives you a little bit, less of a vast amount of alarms to deal with. When you do it individually through the NAE, you can't filter it out like you can through the ADX. But it's more concise considering it's only alarms limited to that page. Okay. So I'll show you something else. Since we did the alarm viewer, I'll show you the event viewer. Real quick, I'll just show you the audit viewer. So what the audit viewer does, it lets you see what actions anybody who's logged into the system has done. So you see the top action is, I guess I was the last person to log in. So you see my name and my user ID telling me that, you know, Ralph logged into the system at 8:35 this morning, and that's the last action you can. You can also see if somebody made an adjustment to a set point, put an override in, and basically any action they did over the network can be seen.
Can you show one more time how you did that, please?
Sure. So you highlight the ADX,
Yes.
go to View,
You.
right? So instead of the event viewer or the alarms,
Okay.
the audit viewer is
Okay,
the
audit
actions,
viewer. Okay.
okay?
Audit viewer.
And again, we could do this the same as the event viewer. I could go to the specific NAE that I want and go to the audit viewer of that NAE. And then I could see, you see most of them on me.
That only on NAE, or you can also see, for example, air handlers.
Well, the air handlers are on the NAE, so yes, you can see the air handler. Like right here would be let's see, an adjustment. Okay, here I put a temporary override in the air handler on the heating valve. I did this last week.
Okay,
For the
it shows,
balancer.
yes, NRB, AHU,
So I
so I
can-
believe, okay.
You know, if you have to expand these out to see,
Mhm.
you know, the full point, you could expand them out. So,
Okay.
but yeah, you see that's, so the heating valve for AHU2 was overridden.
Mhm.
A temporary override was put in on 8/4 by myself. So you can see the previous and the post value. What it was before, what it is now. So if you make an adjustment to a set point, or you do an override, if you reset, basically whatever you do over the network is recorded so they can see what you do. So that's why it comes in, some sites, let's say they have a login for all engineers. Every engineer has one login. If you have individual logins, then you can see specifically who does what. And I always say that if you're doing the individual logins, make sure you log out when you're done so that somebody else isn't, you guys are sharing a computer and somebody else doesn't start making adjustments when it's your login on it.
So let's say you've overridden the valve. That was it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You made it. So it's going to show me that you did that. Now, for the ease to go back and redo what you've done, if you go to the audit and can it expand an action that you've done on that screen? So let's say you click it, and then will it open the screen that allowed you to do that, or no? Or is it just a history?
No, it's just a history.
Okay.
So, I mean, I could show you, we could bring up summaries of,
So anybody could do this and check to see who made the changes? Because we were told before that you had to have
Administration.
administration level.
that's a good question. probably is administration level.
Alright, because we have a supervisor who likes to come and make adjustments for his office. And his office also supplies 7 other offices.
We'll go, I'll show you guys that later.
Alright.
Okay, we'll not do that on, okay.
Yeah.
So, let's do something next. So I'm going to show you guys a lot of time. Yeah. Let's see. So if we go back, right? So we'll go to AHU1 again, right?
NRB.
So again, here's the graphic for AHU1,
Yes,
and if you
come over.
Please.
if you highlight any point, it like I said, it tells you where it is. So NE5, FC1. So if we want to do, say I want to see where all the heating valves, what position all the heating valves are in for all the VAVs that are fed from AHU1, right? Which is, you know, something you guys might use a lot. So again, up on that menu, up on the top, you have a button called Query, and we can do a global search. Now I've highlighted the NAE already, okay? So I'm going to do a query, and I'm going to do a global search. See how that NAE 5 is in that search locations already? So I'm just searching that. Okay. So here are all the VAVs. I'm going to drag this over a little bit. So here's what a heating valve, HTG-O. So if I put, now the asterisk is a wild card symbol, right? So that's gonna, what that does is it takes away all the prefix before that I have to match, right? So I'm just gonna put HTG-O, and I'm gonna do a search. So here we go. Okay, here's the valve, right, for AHU1, and here's all my VAV valves. So here's all the positions of them. So now I can see that roughly I'm using a little bit of heat here and there, whatever. A lot of times you use this if you have, if you're flushing a system and you want to have all the valves open, right? We can highlight all the valves here. And I could command all of them as, if I put the cursor over it, I could do a right click, command, and I could override all the valves. We could do a temporary override to 100% or whatever you want to do. If you do a temporary override, if you want to do it for an hour. I personally, when I'm working on a system, like to use the temporary overrides. This way, if I forget, I know it gets released. If it's something I'm just doing for a tester, or if I'm doing for somebody else. I mean, if you're doing an override and you need it to stay, don't use the temporary override, use the regular override. And the regular operator override, just make certain that it will stay that until you release it. Okay, so that's going to be there forever until somebody, yourself or somebody else, releases that point. So we could send that. You know what, I'm not going to do all of them, I'm just going to do a section of them. So we'll just do a temporary override, command, temporary override, and we'll do go to 100 for 1 minute. And you'll see all the values change. So here this tells me that it took all of them, succeeded with 7, and you'll see all the values of these went to 100.
When would it show unauthorized?
When would, what, this?
Yeah,
dysfunction.
you had successful.
So if you're
failed,
not,
and will
if you don't
correct.
have an operator, if it fails, it might fail if I highlighted one that was offline.
Okay.
Or if the,
Viewing.
so when you do this, the points have to match. I can't, try to override a heating valve and a VFD command at the same time. If the points don't match, they won't let you do a group override. You could override them individually, but to do a group override, all the points have to be the same. When I say the same, binary output, analog output, and the same kind of point in the network. So,
And then you could, like, let's say for the VAV, you could assign it so only administrator has the.
No, it's a predetermined value. An operator can have the ability, if you have the operator function, you're allowed to operate an override. When we go to, let's see, administrator, this will tell you like what roles an operator has. So if you see the boxes that have, you have certain things you could do, like you can override, you can intervene, I guess you can't do diagnostics, you can configure. Whereas if it was just a user, when we assign a user to somebody, that's pretty much only a view only, they can't really do any commands. So, I believe the only difference between an administrator and an operator is the ability to do passwords. So an operator is, pretty much has all the functions of an administrator. And then we kind of break it down, and we could customize the roles. Based on, we could build a new role and check in a box which functions you can and can't do.
So to get to this page, you highlight.
To
which
get to
one,
the
and then
administrative?
No,
This is
not
an
that.
administrative
No,
page.
not that page, the one that you were just showing, this one.
So it's,
Just highlight it and then go to query.
it's easy, I mean, you don't have to highlight it, right? You could have a blank box and you could hit this add, and then you could pick it from here. But if you, before you set it up, and you could limit it to a device or a trunk. So if I know I have all my VAVs on this trunk, I could highlight, FC2, which is the trunk, and then set it up. Or we'll do it again. And do the search again. Right, so if you do larger, it's a lot more information. So if you're looking for specific, all the VAVs off AHU5,
Yes,
then I suggest you do it
just do
through that.
Do we do that through the floor plan? Or is it easier just to do that through the AHU?
Through the floor plan. So the way we're set up, the NAE is specific to the AHU. So all the NAE5 has AHU1 and has all the VAVs for AHU1 on it.
Okay.
NAE6 has AHU2 and has all the VAVs for AHU2.
Where is that list? NE which is reading, for example, 5 to 1, how it's.
Well, okay, the as-built will show you where everything is, but if you highlight the point, it'll tell you what NAE it's on. That's what I'm telling you. All you gotta do is put the cursor over it, and this tells me like AHU6, it's telling me it's NAE 10. So I'm kind of giving you an easy way to get there, rather than dig through the drawings and try to find it. So, it works out good. This is how I tell everybody always do it. Highlight the point, see where it goes, and then that'll narrow it down. Because there are times the graphics don't always show everything. Sometimes you do have to dig through the text if you really want to get in depth in the system.
Yeah, cause what I'm looking for is like, so say in the new building, right, we have AHU 4. I wanna be able to see all the reheats that are on that line, because AHU 4 has a problem with the outside air damper or something else of that sort.
So you wanna see,
That I gotta increase all the VAVs for that air AHU, you understand what I mean?
yeah, so you wanna increase, now what do you wanna increase? You wanna increase the set point? The temperature set point?
No, the
Or you
valves.
just wanna override the
I
valve?
wanna override the valves, but I wanna know which ones are on the AHU 4 line.
Yeah, so, I mean, so we're looking at AHU 4,
Uh-huh.
okay? We can highlight pretty much any point. Well, I mean, you could do, if you wanna do it from the floor plan, you could do it from the floor plan.
That's what I'm saying, I just wanna know what, because obviously, you know, we haven't seen this building, so I don't know what
So,
VAVs are on AHU 4.
It'll be easier to find it through the AHU. If you're just looking for a floor, multiple AHUs could feed the floor.
Yes, yeah.
So, I mean, if we go to, the third floor,
Yeah, I know, but I wanna know if there's a master way, like he just showed us right now, how he go
so,
override and have all those on a timer and everything like that, you know? Where if we know that this AHU is gonna be, you know, it's giving us problems, so we wanna override all the VAVs there from 9 AM to 1 PM and have them at 60% all day.
so, okay, what I would do is, if you're worried about a specific because the floor plan, you're gonna click on the floor plan and there's gonna be
Yeah.
at least 3 different AHUs, and then you're gonna have to find, which AHU, to highlight that, make sure you highlight the right VAV to get you. So, if you want all from AHU 4, you highlight, you find AHU 4 comes from NAE 8. Okay, so now I'm gonna go to NAE 8. Right, and here, if I drop down FC1, here's all my VAVs
Nice, okay.
that are fed from there, right? So what I could do is highlight just the trunk,
Mhm.
go back to query, right? The reheat is that's the heating valve that we just,
Mhm.
right? So then I could put in the star HTG-O, right? And do the search. There's all my heating valves. Now I'm gonna give you one better. What I could do is I could save this as an object list, right? So I could save this, we'll call it, you know, reheats for AHU-4, right? Okay, so now, right, let's just click, and so now if I want, I can go to query, and I can go to open object list. I could bring that. And boom, that brings up all my heating valves. So you could set that up and have that in there for all the AHUs. You could even do that for your zone temperatures, for basically whatever you like.
Okay.
You could have these, I mean, I use these all the time and I leave them in there because,
Yeah, that's
Like
great for us, it just minimizes having to search.
so, I mean, a lot of times I have to, you know, when a balancer comes in, I'll have to open up all the heating valves so he can do the water balancing. So I have all this set up where I can just go boom, 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 and have it all set up for him when he comes in. So, has everybody got this down, how to do this? Okay.
We'll go back to the table.
We can, listen, it'll take a little time. Yeah, I would say play around with it, you know, like, again, so if we have the next day, play around with it. If you have trouble with it, on the next day, if you come back and ask me, we'll go through it again. Okay, it's not that tough, it's just, remember that asterisk is important, because that, you know, clears any of the values. So if I don't have that asterisk in front of it, right, let's just go to this. Right, if I don't have that asterisk in front of it and I do the search, it limits, these are coming from the FCU, okay? It limits what's there. So, like I said, if you look, Right, see the second one down is the HTG, so it takes all of this out of the search with the asterisk. So, I mean, and a lot of times, not so much here, sometimes I have to put them in front and afterwards. You can do it afterwards too. So if there's any extension in the text after it, it'll clear that out too. So it
When
doesn't
you
hurt.
say it will clear it out, you mean it will allow it into the search results?
It doesn't, no, it takes it out of the search. So if I'm looking, if I have VAV1 as HTG as the extension and VAV2 HTO as the extension, if I just search HTO, it won't come up because of the letters in front of the HTG. So if I put that asterisk there, it takes that out of the search and just goes specific from that point on. Everybody understand? Summary definitions are a little... Are you guys familiar with summary definitions? You guys use them here? Okay. You know what? When we take a break, I'll set up one, and then I'll show you guys how to use it and set it up. I don't think I'll take the time.
Let's do dehumidification. This is something. If you need an example, let's do dehumidification as an example.
The humidification as example of what?
The summary definitions, you said you need to set one up to show them after the break. Let's just do dehumidification.
No, what it would be, the summary definition would be, I could set up a group of, basically a spreadsheet where, let's say you wanted to see all the VAVs on the first floor or all the VAVs for AHU1. I could set up a spreadsheet where you could see, I could define what points you see in that. So let's say we would use the zone temperature, the discharge air temperature, the airflow, and maybe the airflow set point, so you can see if they're within range. So, I mean, on the air handler, I could probably do where you could see the humidification, but that's already on the graphic kind of per air handler. So, I mean, so let's look at the graphic. So it's going to be similar to this, okay, where we have all the air handlers. You know, we could see that the fans are running. We get the status of each fan. We get the preheat output. We get the mixed air temperature, the low temp alarm, the cooling output, discharge air temperature, and the high pressure alarm. So it's not easy to set up the graphics to keep giving you graphic pages. So I could give you a text version of the spreadsheet similar to that, where you could pick and choose what points you want to see. So, like I said, I'll set one up, and then we'll come back to that. You know what? You guys want to take a 15-minute coffee break, whatever? And I'll do it. Shut the camera off. Okay. So we started to talk about the summary definition. So right here on the left, you see this folder called summary definitions. So they have some built already, and what I'm going to show you is, so if we double click, this is how you set up the summary definition. So right now, it's basically to set up the same way as you do that query. You see the asterisk in front of the point, right? So that will bring in, eliminate the letters in front of that to bring in what you need. So if we want to edit this, like right now we have this is set up for an air handler, which it has a unit enable, supply fan command, supply fan status, return fan command, and return fan status. So what you do, which this is found some setup already, so we have an AHU monitoring folder. So right now, if you see here, it's brought into points from these devices, AHU 1, 2, 3, AC3. So this right here is doing airflow. But so the summary definition that you use is the one that's highlighted up top. So this is the one that I just showed you. Okay. So it'll bring in the tag of the unit, and it tells you all the units are enabled, all the supply fan commands are on, all the status is reading on, return fan commands are on, and the return fan status is on. So you could set these up. So I'll go back, right, to, that's what we're reading, here's the point definition. So if I wanted to add another point, I think you can go up to 7 points. All right, let's say I wanted to add discharge air temperature, right? So I would put the asterisk and DA, I think that's DA-T. And let's save that. So now I will go back to that other folder. Issues. Oh, I didn't put the title in. I'll fix that. But here, so here's the discharge air temperatures for those units.
And these commands, they are going to be part of the as-builts, right? So when engineers because you obviously know that you have to put DT, DA-T, but they wouldn't. So
again, you're gonna, I mean, it's part of the as-builts, but the easiest way to do it is to highlight the point that you want to put in, right? So if you know, if we're looking at the air handlers, and one thing Johnson's pretty good at is using the same title for all the points. So DA-T is pretty much generic for, we use that at all, and then we just changed the tag before it, like AHU1 DAT. So if we look at, oh, AHU3 went down. So, but if we look at the discharge air temperature, we could see the DAT, and that's coming from NA85. So we know that that point is.
If it's return, it's gonna be instead of D, it would be R, right?
For return.
For return.
But again, look, highlight the point. So here's your return air temperature. So you can see that the point is tagged RA-T. Suppose I wanted to do, you know, let's see, do I have a mixed air temperature? So I would highlight the mixed air temperature, and I would see, oh, that's MAT. Now, if I want to go back, right, and see, go back to this point, right? And so let me edit this. So let me put a title in here, calling this the, and you could write this out. You know, I can call it discharge. This one doesn't have to be a specific. I'm just giving it a title. Right now, so let's say I want to add another one, and I wanted to add mixed air temp, right? Right, so now here I would do the asterisk and the MA-T, and I would save that. Right, so now when I bring this over, so I could give it a more formal heading, or I could, you know, but now I brought in all the mixed in. So this is really a great tool. And you could edit existing ones, and you could add new ones. You can make as many of these as you like and have.
Why is some units in a yellow color?
So I'm assuming it's in a yellow color because it has a high warning on it. So you see I highlighted, it tells me a high warning? Okay, so your air temperatures are running a little bit high. 101 seems a lot high, but that's an HV. So that's an HV unit's different than the air handlers. There's no mixed air temperature, and it's a heating only unit. So, does everybody understand how to edit the summary and what's going on? So I'm going to show you again because it's a little tricky. So on the left-hand column, here are summaries that are built, right? So I mean, I could create a new one, right, and bring it in here. Let's see, we'll call it a VAV summary. Right, I'll add the items later. So now, my VAV summary I'm going to edit. So let's take a look at a VAV. Maybe what points I want to bring in from it. So, from the VAV.
What is it, FC?
I'm sorry?
FC, two letter, FC.
This FC right here?
Yes.
That's the bus. That's the trunk from the NAE. So from the NAE, you have the FC bus. That's the BACnet MSTP trunk where all the devices come into. So it'll show you the path.
Is that like a field control type thing that they named the FC?
I guess so. I mean, that's typically what I call it a field bus.
Okay.
I think default value, if you were just going to add one, it would say MSTP field bus.
Okay.
But that's a Johnson tag, the FC bus.
Okay.
It could be field control. I'm not up on all the Johnson acronyms. There's so many of them. Okay, so I would say I want to add a supply airflow, right? So let's put that in there. We'll call the heading supply flow. Where we're bringing item. We'll do that asterisk and SA-F. We'll add another one. We'll probably want the zone temperature.
We gotta change these names. Child item.
Let's see, we'll go with a DA2, right?
Come to the basement.
There's no basement.
I know.
There's another.
Okay, let's save that.
I don't wanna see somebody.
Okay, so basically I created a VAV folder under the tag of AHUs and I just called it VAV1. So what I'm going to do here is, so I'm going to edit, I'm going to bring in the summary definition into this folder. Okay, and now I'm going to bring in the controllers or whatever VAVs that I want to bring in. So I'm going to go to VAV1, which I know is N85. Right, so what I'll do is I'll just highlight some of these VAVs and I'll bring them in to this folder.
So when you created a summary, you just specified what would you like that summary to look for, and now you brought in where to take that information from, right?
Exactly. So I created a summary. I just picked some points that I thought we'd like to see. And now I chose some VAVs that they would come in from. So now, if I drag, I could drag it or I could double click on it. So now see the points that I picked, the supply flow, the zone temperature, and the discharge oil temp came from the VAVs that I dragged over.
So say I'm here for a year and I'm having problem in multiple locations with certain VAVs. I create a summary, I drag these VAVs there so I have an easy way to check on the problematic VAVs.
Exactly.
And with just one click right there.
Let's say I have, and it could be from any air handler. So in this building, I have a dozen VAVs that are troubled. That, you know, or I have a nurse in this one area, in these areas that are really a pain in the butt, right? That keeps calling you. So you could bring up this section. You could create a summary real quick, and you could look at all your problem areas, what they look at when you first come in the morning, so maybe you can head off the problem. Know that she likes it warm and he likes it hot, or whatever. But I mean, your possibilities are endless. You could create a whole bunch of these. They don't use up a lot of memory on the server, and you could basically set up as many of these as you like. And once you get it down, they're relatively easy how to do. All you need is the definition, and you could use the summary definitions over and over again. So, like when I bring this, I could, if you look at the first one set up, right, this AHU monitoring, I could choose from all these definitions are pretty much in there already. So, like this one is specific to the AHUs, to their outside air control, right? The next one is I would pick it up on the top there. So the next one is generic points for the AHU, right? You know, they have one tank dehumidification. So you could set these up specific to functions of the air handler. So, and you could just click, you could have the devices there and just click between it and bring up different points. So like I said, I think you're limited to 7 points per chart. So you would just have to set up multiple charts, and you could pretty much have every point in the air handlers if you wanted to. Okay. Does everybody, we good with that? Okay. Next, we're gonna move on. We're gonna do some trending. Are you guys familiar with the
just
trending?
about to ask you also.
Okay.
How can we do similar things like this with trending?
Okay, so trending, again, the best bet I say is to highlight the point, and you'll, in the graphic, so you know what you want to trend, right? So, I mean, you guys are familiar with how to use the trending? I'll show you a
How
little
to
bit.
access it when we don't really do anything with it besides monitoring and everything.
Yeah, so I mean, you can see the trend by right-clicking on it and viewing trend, right? And then you know you could add, you could bring it to larger screen. You could move your cursor over it, and it gives you the time and the date of when the trend happened. So are you guys familiar with this? Do I need to go over this? And you can add another trend value.
From the beginning.
Right, so now I can add another trend, and it'll bring it in on the same chart here. So now I can see what the return air and the discharge air temp are doing together here.
Together, right.
What's the maximum view that you could look at the time when you pull up the trend? So here you have 4 days time span. What's the biggest? Can you do the trend like that
I'm gonna go
monthly?
over that. I'm gonna go over that. Okay. So this is through the graphics. There's another way to get trend. There's a couple other ways to get trend data, I should say. So AHU1. So we're gonna highlight the point, the discharge air temperature, right? NAE5. We're gonna see. You see that FEC, but you'll see it. So AHU1 right here. So now, right, we can go to, here's the DAT. So if I double click or drag it over, I see a tab called trend here. Right, and there's my trend on that, right? So now, that's great. Let's say I want to see it in a spreadsheet format. So I clicked on the button next to that, and now this is in the spreadsheet format. So when I bring the tab over, this gives me 24 hours, okay? I'm going to show you, now say I want to add a trend onto this point. Right, I'm going to right click on the point itself. See where it says show extensions? So you see it shows that there's a trend there already. But I'm going to add a new trend. All right, we'll go through this. We're just going to generic call it. So, okay, this is important with setting up the trends. So my sample interval, 600. So that's 600 seconds. That's every 10 minutes. So if you wanted to shorten that, I typically make them 5 minutes, 300. Now this one, repository enable, is very important. If you're false, it's going to write over itself every 24 hours. So it's not going to keep the data any longer than 24 hours. If you're true, it's going to keep it until somebody purges it out of the system. So for most points, you want this true. You do not want to set up very fast-acting trends for a long period of time. So when I say a fast-acting trend, if you set up a trend for every minute on an analog, or you could even, I'll show you, but you don't want to overload the system with data over and over again. So on a fast-acting trend, I would set it up where either it writes, I wouldn't enable a repository, or I would limit it to a time frame, like maybe I'll only run it for a week, okay? Which I'll show you how to do that. So we're going to cancel out of this. Again, so we'll go DAT, we'll go show extensions, we'll go new trend. So next, so this, we're going to go, if we were going to do it like every minute, 60 seconds, and we enable.
Now you got
Oh,
660.
660.
Okay.
But that's giving us the trend for each minute.
That's every minute, yeah.
Every minute we get in a trend.
So there's another on binary points or digital points. That's on off. On a, say on a fan status, right? Since the fan runs all day, you don't want to do a trend every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes. What we do is called the change of state trend. So we're going to just keep a status of every time the fan changes state, right? So what we would do with that, let's come out of this, let's cancel that. So let's see on, it should be supply fan status, right? We have a trend on the supply fan status. So here we see every time the fan comes on and off, right? It's not just a set time of every 5 minutes. So how we set that up is we go to show extensions, right? So now we're going to add a new trend. So next, what we're going to put in here is 0. If we put 0, it's just going to do it every time the fan changes state. do not do that on a temperature sensor or any analog point, because you're gonna get a change. I mean, you could have a discharge air temperature of 55.1, 55.2 change every 5 seconds. You're gonna overload your system in no time if you put that on there and leave it. Okay, so this is for on-off. Okay, usually commands, statuses. Like if you want to see, I usually trend both the command and the status so that if I see the status is on, you know, I could tell, oh, somebody put the fan in hand. The command is off, but the status is on, or vice versa. You know, it's looking for it to be on, but it's not. It's a problem. I do the same thing with airflows on VAVs, right? What good is to see you have 1,000 CFM, you know, maybe it was calling for 1,500. So you need, the CFM tends to change. So I'll put a trend on both the set point and the value. So I could see what's going on more than just what's there. You know, the zone temperature and the zone temperature set point, very important, right? Because if, oh, it's great, it's 72 degrees, but no, they've had it set at 68 for a week, and we haven't gotten there. So, the trending is, the trending capabilities are really awesome. I mean, you could set up a whole bunch of things, but again, the spread, and you could take this, copy to a clipboard, and paste to an Excel spreadsheet. And then from Excel, you could do whatever kind of charts you want to do from there. But it's really nice. And so another thing we could do is what's called a trend study, right? So we could set up, before I show you this, let me show you the trend. So if you highlight a point, right, and you want to see more than that 24-hour period, right, you can go to View and see where it says Trend Viewer. So now I'm bringing in that point. So now, if I wanted to go past, I could right-click right on the drive, right on the spreadsheet, take off the automatic scaling, and let's go back a week, right? And we could pick up the data for a week. Okay, I don't know why it all didn't come in, but that gets us that. And now, from here, let's say I want to add the return air temperature now to this. So I have this already set up. I could just drag the return air temperature and bring it in that value too. Well, let's see if there's something on a return air damper. I could bring that in. No, there's no trend on a damper here. Let's see the mixed air temperature. So I could bring in these values, right? And now I could even highlight, if I wanted to look at a certain section, I can click on, I could highlight and bring in that particular section of it. And I can go back, bring it back, and I could look at the chart on this too, what the values are. And I could bring, so I'm looking at, okay, I really don't need the mixed air temperature. I can uncheck it and take it out of the chart for right then and there. And then let's say I want to bring CO2, the return air quality, and I could bring that in also. The longer you span, so you're talking about a higher, like 500. That's why I kind of shortened it, because it made the y-axis bigger. So when I take that out again, it'll bring it back. So just with the values, if you're looking at the same chart and you have them together and you have, say, supply airflow of 20,000 CFM and you have a zone temperature of 70 degrees, you know, it's going to shorten the y-axis and not make it look right. So I like to look at the value. Here's the cooling valve. So you can bring all of that in. And
That's good, especially when we take over the building.
I'm going to show you one better.
To see problematic areas and people complaining and get rid of their complaints fast.
So, also what you could do, there's a folder already here for a trend study. So I mean, I would add them there, but you could create a new trend study. So what you would do is go insert, trend study, okay? That's where you want it. We're gonna put it in the folder, trend study. And let's say we wanted AHU 1 trend study, right? And just leave it like that. Next. Select trend items. Well, I think what I'll do is I'll drag them over when I'm done. Okay, so here's the trend study. So I'm going to edit. And let's add some items. So anything that's kind of doubled up is, so now, once we have one in, I could just drag them over. Cooling valve. Okay, for the trend study, I have to add them through the tree. A little bit more of a pain, but so you can see if the low temperature alarm comes in. Let's go to low temperature. I'll just give you a couple. Discharge air temperature, return air temperature, and the speed of the fan, and save this. Okay. So now, it's here and it's permanent. So this will keep going. Anytime you want to look at it, it's already set up. You don't have to keep going to that trend viewer and add the points that you want to see.
Sorry, can you go back real quick?
Sure.
The one on the bottom, the SF,
That's the speed of the fan.
that's the speed of the fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And again, I just threw some points
No,
in
yeah,
there.
yeah.
You know, I mean, it's basically the same thing as the summary definition, except it's the history,
Mhm.
right? You're doing the same exact thing.
No, it's good because it just gives us access to really see, like, problematic areas, because I know in the beginning when they had the whole, the COVID patients and all that stuff, they had issues with one of the air handlers, how it was functioning and not cooling enough and everything. So it allows us to actually give information back to whoever's gonna be addressing those issues,
Okay, so
which would be ASM, right?
Alright, so let's go over how to set up if you guys want to add along to the system. So when we're looking at the graphic, typical alarm would be, right, the low temp alarm. Right, so if you wanted to view the point, you could right click and view the point. So there's the alarm extension right there. We click on that. And this basically tells us what the alarm is, right? So it's a low temperature alarm. This is a 2-position alarm. It's on or off. I mean, we could have a discharge air temperature alarm, which will be over a certain value would be the alarm, but this is an on and off with just basically a switch. So it's set up as a priority of 70. the alarm message that you're gonna see on the pop-up, when the pop-up comes, right, you'll see the message saying, you know, AHU1, low temperature alarm. So, if you wanted to add an alarm, again, you find a point, here's the low temperature, you right click. So same thing as adding a trend, show extensions. Instead of picking trend, you would pick an alarm. So you go to new, go to just default. And here is where you can set up your alarm. Now this is just a cut and dry alarm. So let me show you something a little different. So if I wanted to do let's do discharge air temperature, right? So if I wanted to set up an alarm on a discharge air temperature, well, first let's look at the extensions. I'll show you first, and then I'll show you how to do it. So here's the alarm on the discharge air temperature, right? So the high alarm limit is set up at 75, the low alarm limit is set up at 45. Okay, but it also, see the set point reference? It also takes a reference from the discharge air temperature set point, so that if, let's say your set point is 75 and you're making 75, you won't get a nuisance alarm that the high temp is 75. So you could use the reference of the set point. So again, like a zone temperature, you know, if your zone temperature is, somebody likes it warm, is 75, you won't get an alarm if your alarm is set up for 75. It'll reference a differential between the two.
So when it takes the reference at 55, the set point, then you do -10 plus 20? So low alarm is -10, high alarm is plus 20. Is that how it works?
You can set up the difference. So they're set up different ways. Let's set up a new one here and we'll go over. Show extensions. We'll go with the new alarm. Okay.
I know it's different from what you're showing us, but how many alarm points does one AHU have?
I mean, I don't know a specific number offhand, but there's gonna be, I'd say at least a half.
Pressure,
Well, you have,
temperature.
every safety, you're gonna have an alarm.
Okay.
Right, so your freestay, your high level, you can have a fan mismatch alarm. So if you're commanding on and your status doesn't come on
Mhm.
for both the supply fan and the return fan, you're gonna have a high air temperature, you're probably gonna have a low mixed air temperature. I mean, so but you can set up as many as you want.
Mhm.
There's, in the spec, there's a list of the alarms that we've given you,
Okay.
so it'll be there. So if I use this set point reference, so the sub, I can choose from there, I have to go 985. So I'm gonna make the set point reference. I'm looking for the effective discharge air temperature. There it is. Okay, so that would be a reference. So this warning reference would be where it would be yellow. I should have this is just a hard reference, what it's looking for, like 75 and 45. Oh, so here's where it would be, warning the differential, so we'd say differential of 10 degrees, an offset, oh no, let's do differential of 1, with a high offset of 10, and a low offset of -20. I guess it's gonna do it out here, the correction. So this is how, and you could change the priority, which I don't know if you guys are really using, but making a priority 70. And you could set up the text for the pop-up when you want that to say. Long text message would be there. And you set up high tech one.
The message text. To be able to put on for safety, contact engineer.
Yeah, they were talking about me adding, I guess for the critical alarms, that, putting a contact engineer message on it,
Yeah.
so. I know that was a little quick and a little slow getting through there, but basically you guys understand the concept of how to do that? You want me to do it again?
It's going to take some doing it to get used to.
Yeah, you gotta play with it. Everything I show you, you guys gonna have to play with it somewhat. So let's see, we went over alarms, we went over trending. Schedule, let's show you how to put a schedule in. So, most of your AHUs right now in NRB are running 24/7. I think AHU 6 is the only one they have me put a schedule in. So, let's go. We'll go through the graphics because it's easy that's what you guys.
Six is serving what area?
It's area A on the first floor only.
Area A's in the back over there?
Yeah, area A is what is the closest vicinity to CSB. Then the other wing is B, and on the first floor we also have C, which is all that doesn't exist past the first floor.
Okay, and that's all over 6?
No, only area A, so
Only-
for
only
6.
area A.
Area A is also served by HU 5, and area C is by 4.
So again, you have a point called occupied schedule on a graphic. If you highlight that, it tells you where it is. So NAE10. Okay, so if you open up NAE10, you'll see a folder that says schedule, and then you can drag it over. So here is your schedule. Right, here's today's schedule. You highlight it, it tells you the time. So it's coming on at 5 a.m. and it's going off at 6 p.m. Okay, so you can change this if you want to see the weekly schedule. So you're working basically the same times, Monday through Friday. So if you want to adjust this, a couple of different ways, right? You hit edit, and let's say you don't want it to start at 5 a.m. anymore, you want to start at 6. You can just click on it and slide it and see the time.
Every operator has access for that or no?
Yeah, oh yeah.
No, because on another one, on a CSB, I tried couple times to change time for schedule for that. It didn't let me go, it's asked for administrator.
It should be operator. I mean, this isn't an
This
administrative
is how it
thing.
works.
So we could,
Can we check, for example, who has access, who doesn't?
sure. What, well, let's go and then I'll look at that specific one for you. Okay. So you could adjust the times. Let's say we wanted to add some, come on Saturdays. right? We can click on Saturday and make it, 5 to, and it's military time. Make it come on at 5. So,
That's the area that's serving the classrooms in the back over there.
right, if I wanted to take it out, I can just highlight it and hit the negative, and that takes that out. So, that's your basic schedule, and then, so you could set up a holiday and an exception schedule. So if we wanted to set up an exception schedule, let's say we're gonna add well, you could do it by a calendar day, right? Or you could do it by like, a weekend day, which would be like, let's say, Labor Day is always the first Monday in September. So you could set it up by the first Monday in September that, it shuts, we're on a holiday schedule and it shuts off. So we could go weekend day, so we can go for September. The month would be the first week of the month, and the day would be Monday. So now we're gonna set up,
Nice.
right, like that. You can set it up by a date, July 4th, December 25th. The things you're gonna have to put in, you could leave these as recurring. We're gonna come into the specific ones are the observed days, right? So if the 4th of July falls on a Saturday, you're gonna be unoccupied on Friday, right? Would be the day off to everybody. You do that one or two ways. You could set up the exception, or you could just override it for that day. You guys have 20, there's always somebody here or no?
Nope.
No.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
We're not gonna talk about that.
Okay. So,
Not on camera.
so if you wanted to add a new schedule, let's say we wanted to have, AHU 5. So pretty much every NAE has a schedule folder built into it. They come pretty much default. So we're gonna add, so we go insert, right? And we would say insert object. And then we would pick schedule. Next, we'll just go, we'll do it from, so we'll add it. So now, right, we have a schedule added, drag it over. So typically on the air handlers, everything is going to be the point we want to make. So we want the scheduled item. So this is what the point is going to toggle by this schedule, right? So we're going to add. So what we usually want to add is there's a point called occupancy schedule just about on every device we have. It's occupied schedule, whether it's a VAV or an air handler, and this is the point that we use. Okay, so the occupied schedule. Okay, so now we've added the point. We'll save that. Now we want to set up the weekly schedule. So we can edit that. And so let's say we want the unit to work Monday through Friday, we could choose that and come on, 5 a.m. And, if you want to delete them, you could hit Control and highlight. What I like to do first, personal preference, but what I would like to do first is just add up a 7-day-a-week unoccupied, put that in the background, like that, okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add Monday through Friday. We'll start at 5 a.m. We'll put it into occupied, and now I'm going to add and tell it when to go unoccupied. So I'll change the value to unoccupied, and I'll make that at 6 p.m.
What's the difference between leaving it blank behind it?
It's just gonna, so how the schedule works, it stays where it is until it gets a change of value. So really nothing,
Okay.
But I like to put the unoccupied
Yes,
there.
all right.
So it's just a personal preference.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
could leave the gray,
No, yeah.
but the schedule, so the schedule point does, like I said, one thing you gotta remember is it won't change until it has a change of state.
Mhm.
So, if it's occupied and then you switch it to unoccupied, on your own, it won't change values until it looks for another change in the value,
Okay.
okay? Just something to be aware of. There are, sometimes it will, it might go back to the other value if something's happening within the controller, but for the most part, if you switch it, it's, if you wanna, like, if the point is occupied and say you wanna shut the air handler down for the day and you wanna switch it to unoccupied, I would use a temporary override. Just temporary override it for however many hours you wanna keep the unit down for. That's what I would say with that. So, let's just go over some basic graphics. So,
One sec.
yep,
Change battery. Okay.
good?
Yep.
Okay. So here's your home page. Let's do a floor plan. So we want to look at what's on the second floor. So you'll see all these values and T's and everything here. So if I click on the T, that'll bring me to the item that it is. Well, this is the tag. Be careful because the heading up at the top is just the name of the graphic. It's not the what VAV you're looking at. That's in this area here where it tells you VAV 125, bedrooms 227, 226, and 225. So that'll give you, so just be careful with that.
It's one VAV for 3 bedroom, right?
Yeah.
But how they will going to adjust if they want to get different temperature?
You can, I mean, it's gonna control where, basically to where the stat is in the bedrooms. So what you have is one VAV with probably one air outlet in each bedroom, where typically they put the thermostat on the furthest one down the line. So that's it, I mean, that's what you got. It's designed.
All of them like that?
No, some of them are
Because
specific.
sometimes, for example, in the one room, like we have like fan coil units right now, in old buildings. In the one room, somebody like cooler, somebody like warmer, for example, like one, and we're trying to do something. Adjust thermostat, wherever, one, for example, likes, that is on a 69, approximately, absolutely. Another one feel like a comfortable on a 77, I mean on the next room, on a 77. Here
It's-
doesn't work like that.
I've been
right?
dealing with that my whole life, and I'm sure you guys have too.
But actually, we don't have that chance, right? This is
It's-
where we, how it's set and distributing the temperature equal for all of 3, for
Well,
example.
that's,
the
I
areas.
mean, so if we look at a design print, we'll have, probably the equal size bedrooms with 150 CFM in each bedroom. So as long as the balancer did his job and has 150 CFM in each room, it should, in theory, work. Now, I don't know, these people don't have a, like, if one room is loaded up, the guy's a computer geek and has servers all over his room that generate heat, he's obviously gonna be a little bit warmer than the other guy downstream who has one TV in his room. So,
And-
I mean,
And again, in reality, it's important for us. In reality, if it's, for example, we can make each room individually for their demand, right?
no,
Okay.
no, you have one VAV and you have one thermostat,
Yep.
and that's what's
For that. And
controlling.
we see for what room that control, okay.
Yeah, I mean, some of them control multiple rooms, some of them control individual rooms. I mean, think about the cost of the job if you
No,
had,
no,
every single room had its own
I absolutely
VAV.
understand that.
yeah.
Just for us, it's important, you know?
I-
For example, if it's like on this VAV, they asking 3 different rooms. But one is asking again cooler, another one like 77, maybe 80 degrees, he is comfortable, right? And they demand, they just make for us, work order. And if we physically can do work on that, you know, do something, change. Because it's designed like that. For us, we need to know that, you know, and that's it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
okay. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong.
so, from the floor plans, you could also click on, you know, the air handler that feeds the floor. There's different colors for different devices, like those VAVs are gold, and you'll see the blue ones are the fan coil units. Alright, so, I mean, up at the top of the page, you'll see the outside air temperature and the humidity, gives you the date and the time. This is a home button, this will bring you back to your home page. Okay, so all the floor plans are, like I said, are set up the same way. So this is one side of the floor, you can click to the other side of the floor, like we're on the A. You can click to the other side right from the page you're on. And you could either go back by clicking on the other, or you could use the back arrows to navigate to.
Does it also show which, I wasn't here, which AHU that particular VAV is associated with?
Well, by the tag of the VAV tells you what it's associated with. So, I mean, this is VAV 136. So the first designation is the air handler. The second designation is the floor. And then the other one is the number of the VAV on that floor. So every VAV is laid out that way. So it's somewhat helpful.
On the floor, how many VAVs on the floor?
There's typically 40, 50 VAVs per floor. So, you know, click on another one. Let's go to 5th floor. So you'll see, let me just pick one. So this is VAV 253. So it's coming from AHU 2 on the 5th floor, and it's VAV 3. Yeah, this is coming from 7. So this is AHU 7, 5th floor, and VAV 13.
Oh,
So,
and then it also tells you the rooms that these VAV
oh
serves.
yeah, it gives you the rooms that it serves. So if you needed to zoom in, which I'm finding in my older age I'm needing to, you could zoom in with the button right there and get a clearer picture of the room numbers that it's feeding. You could zoom out, back
And
out.
then, can you do zoom in for 1 second? For example, look, that numbers over there, like for example, 5-225, 226. Numbers, it's a floor, and number 225, 226, 227, it's number of the room, right?
That's a room number,
Okay,
yeah.
I see.
Mhm. So now if you also wanted to, see this button here, this is like a drag, what you guys are used to with PDF, so you can drag the drawing it around too. Right, but you have to remember, you can't, when you have the drag, you can't click into something. So you have to go, you have to unhit it to get back to the arrow and click into it. And then you could put it back by hitting that button in the middle, okay? So, I mean, if you wanted to, you could also, I mean, I don't use it too much in the graphics, but more with the text. If you wanted to split screen, right, you could set you could split screen like that. So a lot of times I'll use that if I wanted to look at the air handler and the VAV at the same time in text. But I mean, so, you know, from the floor here, I clicked on one, I have it here. So you could bring up two, and you can go as many as 4 on a panel layout. You can pick which type of panel layout. Like I did it on side to side. You could do top to bottom. You could do, like I said, up to 4 of them. So if you wanted to, you know, if you did have multiple TVs, this is a way to put them on individual TVs. Chilled water system. You guys are familiar with this. I'm sure you guys look at this all the time. You know, you can see the status of the chillers by moving. You could drop down these menus. You could expand them out if you needed to while you're looking at them, because you know there's a lot of information on one page. And then these buttons, you can click into other systems. From that page, you can go back through the button or back through through a back arrow. You know, you have more information on here.
Can you click on the chiller number 2? Yeah. This number never change. 53.7.
The full load amps?
Yeah. Never change. It should be the same like chiller number 1, close to this number, but
The trend is showing that it's moving.
you see what this trend show, but it's, I remember this number from the last week. 53.7.
I mean, that's what it's reading right now. I mean, it's showing it's changing.
On a trend, but it's not on
It's not updating on the graphic? Okay, I'll look into that for you. You're running 2 chillers. I thought it strange that I saw one chiller was almost running at 90% and that the second one stayed around 50%. But
No, I look on a BMS and look on a chiller, the numbers different.
okay, I'll look into that.
Mhm.
So, zoom in a little bit. You see, I mean, pump statuses of these moving points, the chiller statuses, stripes. I don't know what else. Let's see what's going on this morning. So you have a alarm on condenser water pump too. If you guys can see that turned red and you have the alarm there. We could drop down the values of cooling towers. Commands. How are you guys comfortable with the graphics right now the way they are? You good at navigating around them? Any questions?
Is it a chance just? For example, we have now that alarm over there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a chance to add like a thrill which will show us what kind of alarm is it. Overloaded, for example, underload,
I mean,
whatever.
if the alarm came in, you have a pop-up, but the alarm on the pump is a pump status alarm, so
Pump start.
what happened was the command came on,
Yes,
and it
and
didn't
it
see
did, okay.
status on it. So that's the only alarm you're gonna get right there.
Okay.
So,
Can you go to the
How-
NRB?
How we can reset this alarm?
There's,
If nothing wrong with VFD drive and alarm present on a screen.
so this alarm is, the drive is an alarm? Is that what you
No,
said?
drive is not an alarm, drive is normal.
So system reset, you want me to do it?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so that cleared out that alarm. Yeah, when you're doing a command, I mean, what I always do is I right-click on it, go to more commands, and then I choose what I want to do. So you know, if you don't want to, you don't have to override, you can just toggle it and send it out.
When you did that system reset, that didn't also, the pumps didn't restart, it was just
Well,
specific to that alarm that it was able to restart.
so it depends, you have a spare pump on that system.
Mhm.
Right, so you only run 2 out of 3 pumps all the time. So it's not gonna make you go back to that pump, right? Because you run, it's looking for 2 pumps, you have 2 pumps running. But you went from pumps, let's say 1 and 2 wanting to run, 2 failed and it went to 1 and 3.
Mhm.
So you're running 2 pumps, you're okay. When I reset it, now, if you would have failed pump 3 with that alarm in, it wouldn't
It'll
go back to,
2.
it wouldn't look back to 2, because it's already taken out of the loop, it's failed. Now, if pump 3 fails, now it'll look to start pump 2, because it's been reset, it's back in the system, it's now re-enabled to be used again. So I don't know if you guys have a rotate schedule, or if you rotate them on your own, because it should rotate based on runtime.
Yeah, it's on
Turn
runtime,
around.
sometimes,
So,
because the chillers don't.
Because now it's condenser water pump rotate false.
well, that's not true to rotate automatically. That rotates the point. So if we set up a schedule to rotate the pumps once a week, that point is gonna come on for 30 seconds, rotate the pumps, and then go back to full. So that's, when you wanna rotate, that point goes to true. Okay, so let's say today you said, oh, I've been running pump 2 a lot, I wanna go to pump 3. You hit that rotate button. But if it's gonna go strictly to the runtime. So if you're running pumps 1 and 2, and they have less pump runtime than pump 3, even though you hit the rotate, you're gonna stay at pump 1 and 2. Because pump 3 has still got the higher runtime hours. Until one of those surpass that in runtime, you won't rotate.
Can you go to the NRB pump room?
Look at the water system.
Water system.
Residential building water system.
Is this what you wanna say?
No.
No, he wants to see.
A folder, that's a subfolder, the residential building.
Condenser water or chill water?
System.
Chill water.
Chill.
NRB pumps. Yeah, here.
This
No,
is the
yeah.
same one we're looking
No,
at,
no,
right?
just click on NRB pumps. This one.
Yeah. From here, we're able to go into each pump, set the trends, and create a folder for that, right?
Yeah, I mean, so you could, like, if you wanted to trend, this tertiary chill water supply temp, you could right-click on it. Well, it has a trend already, but,
So,
hang on. So what you're gonna have to do is find it in the tree.
all right.
So, right, so it's the chill water NAE, so we go down. That's the tag that matches the, right, the tag there, so. Now, next is, so it's in the local, so this is an NCE, so it's in this local application here, right? And then it's the T, you gotta find the point itself.
Yeah,
So
because
right
before,
there.
before you leave the page, want to be able to trend these two.
Which, this one?
The return, yeah, the return and the supply, so that way we can put that into a trend.
Well, it has a trend.
Yeah, and we separate it into a folder. So we can go directly to it and just look at it for, you know, how many days is, what's it doing and everything like that.
So you, what, do you want a trend study for that?
Yeah, because as you can see, the temperature difference, it's a big difference. You know,
Temperature different, supply and return,
yeah, 14 degrees.
there's a lot of loads.
Today, it's not that hot outside to have a load like that.
It's hot and humid.
But when he was in some of the reheats, I saw some of the reheat valves, they were open partially.
But this is not reheat, this is a
VAVs.
this is chill water.
No, the VAVs were what you call some of them.
For VAV, you have to open
I know.
hot
So,
water system.
all right, let's,
I know, but what
So-
I'm trying to say is that you see, that return, that's not a demand outside. What's the outside air temperature? 82?
it's hot, it's hot and humid today, it's
true,
82 with
humid is,
almost 70% humidity. There's a load today.
yeah.
I'd say today's a peak summer load day.
On a VAV, you saw only a heating loop. It's not this, it
I
should be
know,
heating system.
but it showed some of the heating loop as in, it was calling. Cause some of the, on the coil was red.
Yeah, because for this dehumidification, the unit supply air with the lowest temperature, and after this, VAV open heating valve to heat this air. At first, the big unit on upstairs, the cold air, and VAV heat air to the comfortable temperature.
Yeah, so that's your
That's-
dehumidification.
Yeah, that's what we run.
The cold
We
air
run boiler.
carries
We run
less
boiler
humidity.
now in the summertime.
I understand that, but we're in an unoccupied building right now. There is no people inside the building, so the load already outside is a 16-degree difference.
I think we are
We
occupied.
should be
I'm not
unoccupied.
talking about what is.
No, you say there's nobody here.
There's nobody in the
Nobody
building.
here.
There's no heat load, personal heat
There's
load.
no person, yeah, exactly. There's nobody in the spaces. And we got a 16-degree differential right now between supply and return.
Yeah, because of the
And that's
the
also what's
cooling
going to
valve
be
is
fixed
open
via this
100%.
brief change of sequence of operation.
You talking
right?
with the bridge?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
So there is issues with the bridge on the chilled water system.
That's a, I understand there's a load, I understand the humidity outside, but the building has nobody inside of it.
Nobody inside, but I don't know what is that. If you open screen with
So
VAV,
The supply is good.
it should be
The supply is great.
occupied. It
You know,
should
the
be
supply is
occupied.
great. To be supplying the building with 50.
If you wanna set up a trend study on those 2 points, we'll do it right now, so you,
No, I wanna practice it. I wanna
Oh,
practice.
you wanna practice
Yeah, I
it?
wanna
Okay.
practice it, yeah, I wanna do it myself.
so what you would do is, trend study, right, this, you wanna add it in this folder,
Mhm.
right, go to insert, right, trend study, right, and then you would pick the points that you want to go in there,
Okay.
and then I would then save it,
Mhm.
and then you have it every time you wanna look at it, so. Okay. There's no labs. think we've just about covered. Why don't we take a walk to some of the equipment, and then we'll come back and look at it exactly. So let's go to one of the air handlers, okay? Let's look at the graphic real quick before we go up there so you can see what we're dealing with. They're all the air handlers are the same. I mean, one of them has larger points. AHU6 is a little bit different because that's a fresh air unit. It's 100% outside air, but then all the others are typical. So I'll show you, we have some low pressure safeties. You can see the dampers, you can see the flow station, you can see the freestat. And, okay, let's go up. So everybody take a visual of what it looks like on a graphic, you know, to what we could see, and then I'll show you what the physical devices look like. Okay?
Why is dampers override?
I don't know. My guess is these are set up for a lot of fresh air, right? We're looking for 6,000 CFM of fresh air, and you're running 10,000 CFM, so 60% outside air on a hot and humid day. So I would guess that somebody wasn't happy with that and overrode the dampers so that you wouldn't be bringing in that much fresh air, because that's what's controlling to right now.
For now, who has access to this? We didn't do it.
You can look at the audit viewer.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, let's find it.
I think I have an idea who it was.
Let's see.
I think he shots the cameras for this one.
Another mark.
So everyone mixed air, mixed outside air.
Okay.
Let's see.
Who is Aramark? Nobody knows who is Aramark.
It's Aramark. You
Aramark.
don't know who Aramark is?
Oh, it's a couple of people.
It's a couple of them. Well, how long ago was that? Oh, that was June though. Yeah, you see, nothing was changed from then
Mike
to now.
Christina,
from when they
his
had
personal. It's not the mic.
The COVID patients.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't changed it. Any other operator over it.
I don't remember doing it. I don't see that I did it. If I was done, I would have been asked to do it.
No, it was probably long when they were operating it for when they had
But I don't think it goes back that long.
No.
No. Because I would have taken it out. I think it's been after, since we've been in the summer.
company?
Econ override? Does the AHU4 has economizer?
And we went over there.
I don't think so.
It has a economizer.
It does?
Sure.
No, they didn't test it. We didn't go.
This issue for is for areas that was
Shut it off.
COVID people was
No.
there. Okay. I don't want to go to the unit, is it?
No, there was never anybody there.
Mhm.
So what was the value of it? Well, it was return damper 70.
When Google was working, checking the starter, I left them in the car, they went back.
Somebody did it via this module by the unit. You have that plug-in module that sends a Bluetooth signal you can connect to. If
Well, I'm the only one who
would
can
you
do
see
that. No, you wouldn't see it.
So then it's maybe Mike Rogler for balancer. He uses these small modules.
Yeah, it's, I don't see the value, it could be that. If you do it locally, you can't see it.
Yeah, maybe
If-
that's
This is
the
only
case.
over the network.
Yeah, maybe.
But I would think that I was the only guy able to do it locally. But I'm not seeing the 70 value.
And you'll see a VFD fault, and it usually the alarm blinks between telling you what it is, it'll give you a code and whatever. So there'll be a choice if you look here. This button will say reset. So you hit that reset button and that'll be what reset the drive. I have seen instances where you do have to recycle power to reset it. Most of the time you could reset from here, okay? So if you get a VFD fault, you gotta reset it locally at the drive. So your power's coming in here, going to your local disconnect here. So here's the door to the unit. Anytime you open it up a unit when it's running, you want to be careful. These have a safety on it, so if you open it, it won't open all the way until you turn the handle back. So when you put it in, you gotta kind of work it back and forth before you get in and out of the unit. Alfred showed you guys all this, right? So inside here, you're gonna see there's a manual reset. You guys wanna come around and take a look at it? There's a button. So see it on the left there?
The same.
So that's going to be your low suction. Actually, there's no low suction. That's your return air high safety. You have two static pressure safeties: the return air high and the supply high. Okay. Also, you'll see a filter switch there. That's a Johnson P32 differential across the filter. Typically set up for 1 inch. If that doesn't work for you guys, that has to be manually set up. Got the little screw in there and it tells you the value. So it's really easy to set those up. So just this bank is you have your mixed air dampers, so your outside air, your fresh air, and your spill. So it would be OAD, RAD, and EAD, the exhaust. This would be the exhaust, and then your fresh air is on the opposite side with the airflow station, and then your return air is obviously coming off your return fan. So if your return air damper closes, your exhaust air damper has to open because we got to send the air somewhere, right? So right here we have our freeze stats and our preheat temperatures. These are not, there's no manual button on these freeze stats. So you got to reset them software through the LTM reset button on but as you see, we have a separate device for each one. So that's protecting your cooling coil. This is your intake side of your supply fan. This is your intake side of your supply fan. Okay, so this is your supply. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to put it in hand, lower the speed so I can open the door without losing a whole lot of air in my face. So I lowered it down to about 15 hertz. Same thing, has that safety in there. Okay, and here's your discharge air reset. So you would have to hit the reset on this button too. So if you get a suction safety, you do have to come up here and reset it. It's a manual reset on that. Your discharge air temperature sensors in here, and there's your temperature sensor right here. Not really a whole lot. Your valves are downstairs for this particular unit. They're in a room down below it. We got to go past it on the way back. I'll show you guys where the valves are. Okay, but typically the valves are on a high roof. They're in they're enclosed area below the unit. And for these two units, they're in a room downstairs with in an AC room. So, any questions about the unit? Not a whole lot, right? There's a couple of safeties and the drive. Let's put this drive back to auto before I forget. No, the freeze stat is software only. Only on software.
Because we have in our units we have.
You got a problem with what is it? AHU3 keeps tripping out on freeze stat or something like that. So. Oh yeah. So I mean, come around to the other side. I'll show you our panel. So. Come around. So just showing you. This is our field controller. It's an FAC. You guys are probably familiar with that. We do have a battery backup UPS, so if we lose power, this will keep us on, not for very long, probably about 15 minutes. There is a breaker up here, and there are resets on the transformers. So if the unit was to go offline, one of the things I would check would be to make sure I have power up here. This is where I would come. All right. Really nothing else to do except check power, make sure that the UPS or anything didn't trip.
How we can see that we have a power? There's no.
You would have to put a meter on it.
Just a meter. Okay.
Yeah,
There's no lights. Yeah.
You can see lights on the controllers. See the lights on the controllers?
Yes.
They would be lit up.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, you have a light here. That's lit up showing you the UPS is on. Okay. And your breaker might be tripped. Right? That's just a toggle switch. I think it's for the outlet only. You know, if your transformers pop, you'll see this out. This will be sticking out, and you just push it back in. Has a heater for the winter time.
oil once in a year?
Is that a filter there? I don't even know. Yeah, I mean, I would say once a year.
It sucks air.
Yeah, no, this is one of those washable filters. I would at least once a year bang that out. I mean, if you have a service contract, that would be part of. You don't with Johnson, though. So, okay.